1865. 5 white men, some with names you might recognize, Denny, Yesler, Terry, drew the boundaries of Seattle based on where their property was. The first act of their leadership was to pass Ordinance Number 5, mandating the removal of all Native Americans from the newly drawn limits of Seattle, ingraining into our culture that property is king. 1926, Ambler Realty sued the village of Euclid, Ohio, arguing that zoning had substantially reduced the value of land by limiting its use. The landmark Supreme Court case of Euclid versus Ambler held that zoning was constitutional. In Justice Sutherland's opinion, he voiced a socially dominant view of renters. One valid purpose of zoning, he said, was to separate single-family dwellings from apartment buildings, which are a mere parasite constructed in order to take advantage of the open spaces and attractive surroundings created by the residential character of the district. While the view of renters has softened, renters are still disfavored in spending on parks and under tax law, not receiving tax deductions for rent payments, for example. 1927. Worried that black families might seek housing north of Madison Avenue, a group of white homeowners from our neighborhood organized themselves and began a campaign to change all of the deeds in the area to exclude whole classes of people based primarily on their race from owning property in the neighborhood, perpetuating again the idea that property is king. The Capitol Hill Community Club, associated with this campaign, wrote a letter in 1948 stating that a small group of interested people worked and kept 90 blocks safe through racial covenants. The Supreme Court told us tenants are second-class citizens. Property owners tell us we are not worthy of calling this neighborhood our own. But tenants are not second-class citizens. Renters are the cultural and economic lifeblood of our neighborhood. I'd ask, between the 3 types of tenancy, homelessness, renting, or owning, which type of tenancy do you imagine someone like me, a young professional transplant, should live in when being a renter is the natural first step in planting roots in the city I call home? Thankfully, I'm not alone. A stunning majority of Seattle's land is zoned for property owners, at 65% of the city. But in our neighborhood, renters make up 80% of the population, which is the highest renter-to-homeowner ratio in the city. We have power in numbers. It just requires us to organize and work together for common cause, our future and livability. That power can increase our impact on shaping the natural change in our city. When we cast out the idea that development happens to us and not with us, we will know the importance of our voices. When it comes to affordability and livability, our voices must be heard because our thoughts and concerns are what we give to our future. We need to be given the opportunity to cast a vision for the day when we might also be homeowners. Too often, though, I hear the same old tired criticism toward my fellow renters. Renters are transients. Renters don't care about the neighborhood. I've lived here for 30 years, and my opinion's more important. But we know that there are single-family homeowners who feel like we're ruining the character of the neighborhood in a supposed war on single-family homes. But when you elevate the voices and experiences of renters, vulnerable to crippling rent increases, for example, then we will more holistically know how to solve our city's affordability crisis. Including us informs our work in creating a renter and homeowner city. Because at 80% renter population in our neighborhood, we know that we'll have renters here for a long time to come. And the work is already being done. Last year's Hollow recommendations brought many valuable policy ideas for tenants, empowering our renter community by getting rid of source of income discrimination, increasing access to those with criminal backgrounds, and tenant counseling, as well as including more affordable housing across our city. But there's still more we can do. At the Capitol Hill Community Council, all of us are under the age of 33, and 6 out of 7 of us are renters. We're queer people, we're women, we're people of color, we're the faces of our changing neighborhood. Our mission is to represent and elevate the voices of residents of our neighborhood because we know when we come together, we can raise $1,500 for PACs for people experiencing homelessness. We can provide community service hours at local organizations. We can successfully lobby for an expansion of LEED and MDT to our neighborhood, all in the service of creating the community we want to see and doing our part to shape the change happening in our neighborhood. That's why I'm excited about a joint project of the Capitol Hill Eco District and the Capitol Hill Community Council called Capitol Hill Renter Initiative. Our democracy should not be dependent on property ownership, and sometimes it feels like it does. History certainly reminds us of that. The Capitol Hill Renter Initiative will give power back to us renters. This year, we'll be particularly focusing on the Hollow recommendations and affordability, but mostly we're building a movement. We need more leaders, though, willing to share your thoughts and ideas about shaping our neighborhood. All of this to me comes back to my value of home. We all deserve home and the feeling of safety that comes with it. Without home, we'd have nowhere to hang our hat. Thank you.